Gets open for three. Dagger!
The kick, and here it comes. Swing and a miss! And a World Series Game 7 winning Curly W is in the books.
Washington Capitals are the 2018 Stanley Cup champions. You like that? You like that? I like that.
You gotta like that, right?
My approval ratings keep going up.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Complicated business.
Welcome in. This is Defeating the Curse. The Commanders have started their season at 1-0. I haven't seen Stevie in the flesh in at least a couple of weeks now, but man, has the chat been active. Stevie, it's good to see you. Welcome back to the pod, Stevie.
Always a pleasure, man. This is the only thing that'll get me sized at 10 p.m. on a.
I mean, you were so excited. Did you cut your date short to come do this, or what did you do?
Hey. And that's wait
Oh,
for the. Come on, we're recording now. Come on.
FP, it's good to see you too, FP. I do hear more from FP these days, mainly because of the Fortnite crew, which Stevie's holding out on. But FP, you had a lot of thoughts about RG3 this morning, which I'm very excited to talk to you about. But let's just jump into it here, boys. The Commanders are 1-0. Sam Howell almost died on the field. Should we start there? Should we start with the Cards being dirty, or is that a little bit too on the nose? I don't know if they were dirty. Personally, but I mean, one guy did try to scissor kick his head into the ground. FP, I know you've got some thoughts on this, so maybe you go first here.
It wasn't necessarily dirty. They were just playing hard. Sam Howell definitely, after that hit where his head crashed into the field, and then we had the ref went viral, popping up out of the ground like he was the crypt keeper throwing the flag. Howell definitely struggled after that hit, and I'm pretty sure he's at like 65% concussed. And I think that's where a lot of the things that we saw on Sunday that we didn't like came from, the indecision making and holding onto the ball a little bit too long. It wasn't
overall,
dirty. I don't believe in teams tanking. I don't think that's a real thing. Players don't tank.
Front offices, they want to get paid. They got things in their contracts. They're trying to earn their money. I totally agree with you on that. But the first hit, you could say it was late. It was out of bounds, but it was more of a football play. The second one, there was two Cardinals players that kind of converged on him. Stevie, how much did you watch of this game? Maybe we should.
No.
I can't assume you actually watched the game. So, did you watch this game, Stevie? Week 1. Did you watch this?
I watched every snap, start to finish. And Joe, hey, don't get cute on the podcast. I've been sized for Sam Howell for a month now. There's nobody who's been more sized for Sam Howell than me on every chat. Okay, I was glued to it. And can I give you my overall impression of the game? Okay, because I think I went through the 12 stages of Redskins Anonymous or whatever, self-help thing that we go through. Is if throughout the game, it was miserable. They looked terrible against a terrible team, right? And it was just the old Redskins. It was just the old, they can't protect the quarterback. Sam Howell was holding the ball way too long. Quarterback's holding the ball way too long. Didn't invest in the running game. Didn't stick to the running game.
He's a rookie. What do you want? He's played like
he's definitely not a rookie. So let's be actually accurate.
He's played 2 games. If he had that game last season to start the season as an actual rookie, you would have been ecstatic about it, right?
You couldn't be ecstatic about even anything good on Sunday because of who they were playing. Because you couldn't name a front 4 pass rusher for the Cardinals. Because all you could think of is Budda Baker on their defense. Because they have nobody
they're still
else.
Professionals. I mean, they're still professionals.
They are trying to lose.
No. The athletes are not trying to lose. And you still have the head coach. Gannon still came from the Eagles, who had a fantastic defense. He knows how to coach a defense. It was a Super Bowl caliber defensive coordinator we were going against, unlike JDR. I mean, also, like we said 100 times, week 1 football is not real football. Maybe the Cardinals play hard and scrappy against everybody this year.
That may have been the best take in the offline chat, was that week 1 football is not. It's not football. Like, you really can't learn that much given the shortened preseason, the way that, it's almost the player management bit. I thought that was a great point, actually. But I mean, there's two hits or two plays that are kind of like circulating all over Twitter or X or whatever it's called these days, right? Like the first one was a football play. It was a late hit. It was out of bounds. The second one was not a football play, right? It was something out of WWE, like the guy scissoring his helmet and smashing him on the ground or trying to, like, I don't know if that's just something that bad football players do, or if they actually, I don't buy into this, like this bounty gate and the head hunting stuff. Like, I don't know if that was legit, but
No, that was just
how
bad form.
I remember turning at one point and thinking or saying out loud, like, this guy can't slide. Why can't none of our quarterbacks here can slide? Like, I mean, did we not have a similar problem once upon a time with RG3? And I have many thoughts on his nonsense from this morning, but him and Stevie's boy Grant got into it a little bit, so we can get Stevie's take on that too. But they didn't look great on offense. Gibson, I'm sorry to say, as much as I cheer for him, you can't trust him with the ball anymore, especially between the tackles. Like, you just can't. You gotta find a way if you want him to be part of this team and part of the game plan. I think you gotta swing him open on like wheel routes. You gotta use him as a fourth pass catching option or screen him out. Like, you can't just run him up the middle. Is that 8 fumbles now for him? I think over the last 2 seasons. Like, and these aren't coming like in meaningless moments. These are drive killers. I mean, these are backbreakers, right? And I do give the team a lot of credit for, even after Howell's really bad fumble that turned into 6 points for the Cardinals, or 7 points. I give the team a lot of credit for coming out, and I think this is the first time we see Eric Bieniemy do something that is different from the previous administration, like not closing out the half with, just tucking his, just tucking it and calling it a half and go to the locker room.
I 100%. Now, if I was finishing that thought of, they look terrible during the game, but the more time goes away from that game, it's like, when you go out with that crazy hot girl, right? Y'all seen the crazy hot scale, okay? And you're in it, and she's completely insane, okay? And then a couple days go by, and all you can think of is how hot she was. And then then you start texting, whatever, and you think, I can put up with that. So that's what this feels like, is a couple days go by, and you're just like, you know what? That wasn't that bad. And Joe, you hit the nail on the head, is the only thing you need to know about Sam Howell was, after that atrocious fumble return for a touchdown, atrocious, he comes out and makes 3 throws to end that half that are high caliber, like top tier throws. One was to the sideline to Curtis Samuel. Another was a crosser where he stepped up in the pocket, where he's getting pressure in. I mean, those are big time throws with a minute left in the half. That tells you all you need to know about Eric Bieniemy. It tells you all you need to know about Sam Howell, is that the confidence, the short memory. That was not a rookie quarterback. That was a guy who believes in himself, whose coaches believe in him, and has the ability to make really any throw on the field. And we saw that.
The arm strength is there. The decision making is there. It's the protection that hurt him. It's the protection. It was the drops from Logan Thomas. There's so many other things to focus on in that game than Howell's performance. Howell doing what he did for how much experience he has was not the issue. He's going to make mistakes, but this could have very easily been a Carson Wentz game where he throws 4 interceptions, right? But that's not what Howell did. Howell made his mistake, and like they said, all offseason, all preseason, he shook it off, he learned from it, he moved on, right? So just like Stevie pointed out, bad decision-making, sloppy, the mistake happens, and then he came out, and then he was sharp, and then he was hitting passes. He hit Dotson all the way down the left, and he's converting 3rd and longs. Like, he is not the issue. The issue is 1,000% the O-line, and it's Wiley coming over from the Chiefs, who couldn't do anything and needed 3 extra guys to help him block somebody from the Cardinals. It's Charles Leno did okay, but oftentimes would just get beat with like one single swim move or something. And this is again, and to go to Steve's point, this is against the Cardinals. We saw what the Cowboys defense can do. We know what the Eagles defense can do. We are going to be in a world of hurt against premier defenses.
Well, they get their first.
Wait, Joe, are you going to just ignore Mina, and are you going to ask him? Is he going to run for Congress against that
Listen,
Democrat?
that's our boy, Mina. He like if we're talking about like the P1s of this show, the folks that have been listening literally to all almost 300 episodes now, I think he's at the top of the
Joe,
list.
is he going to break? Is he going to break some news tonight and announce his candidacy against that Virginia Congresswoman who's in the news?
If he does, we'll go. I could talk about Susanna Gibson. You want to talk about Susanna Gibson?
Mina has listened to more shows than me and Stevie.
I know FP did some research. He's got he showed us his whole setup in the offline. I'm sure there was
using it right now.
Susanna Gibson, but I mean, look, Mina's comment for those that are just listening to this and not watching, Sam Howell's the next Drew Brees, calling it right now. I will die on this hill. I think there's a few people on that hill, but I think that's a terrible take. He's not like, I think it's way too soon to do that. Like he's got the build, I suppose, to be, TBD if he's got like the ability to process and read. I mean, Drew Brees was an elite defensive reader. I mean, I don't know what the correct term for that is, but the guy, I mean, he audibled like crazy. Did Sam audible out of one package on Sunday? Like, I know that's not one of those things that we watch for necessarily, but the offensive line is going to be a problem for sure. But I appreciate that they came out against a bad team, with a minute and change at the end of the first half and decided to just push the ball and let's see what they can do. I think they didn't target Terry enough. I mean, that's maybe his.
I'm actually okay with that one.
Maybe his injury.
It was like an unofficial, unofficial pitch count for him, I think is what we were dealing with.
Yeah. I mean, I Curtis Samuel, I think can still play in this league. I mean, do you guys see it differently? I mean, he's more than serviceable. I mean, I'm impressed with how they were able to get him into space as well. But for me, the story on the offensive side of the ball, Howell, I mean, he looked like a guy who's played in 2 games, right? And I think, in DC, there was such a fever, like the hype around this team reached such a fever pitch leading up to week 1. And the homecoming and all the, by the way, was Champ Bailey like not allowed to come to the stadium beforehand? Like, I want to buy into this, but like, was he not allowed to attend before?
No, I'm sure it was just his whole agenda and anti-Snyder and all that crap is why.
Was he anti-Snyder? I feel like everyone all of a sudden became anti. Like Portis,
100%.
like Clinton was not anti-Snyder.
Yeah, it was just it was the trendy thing to do,
back and forth all the time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So it was cool to see them together. I don't know if you guys saw that photo, but like 2 guys that were traded for each other, like that was kind of cool.
But I'm sorry, Joe. There are certain facts that we can't avoid. Is that if this team plays the way they played in week 1, that's a 5-6 win team.
I don't even think that. I think I mean, if you give them the ball the way they did, they struggle on offense. That defense showed up, and we should pivot here and talk about the defense a little bit in the second half. No, Stevie, they looked good. They looked good. Montez Sweat looked like he was.
I can give you 2 sentences for the defense. The D line is world class, and it does not need Chase Young. And Cody Barton and our linebackers are hot garbage and got blocked out of every single play. If you look back at the game, our linebackers were nowhere to be found, and that's why James Conner was running all over us, and fake 1,000-year-old Zach Ertz was catching everything known to mankind because we don't have linebackers. And I don't care what I don't care what Ron says. I don't care what JDR says. We need real linebackers. We don't have real linebackers, and we're going to get smoked in the middle of the field without.
I think Jamin's name got called on the first defensive play.
And the thing that it took the defense an entire half to wake up, and for them to be like, "Oh shit, we actually need to try." And then you have Payne, Allen,
or did they just unleash them in the second half? Like when I don't think.
Then that's a stupid question altogether. Why were they not unleashed in the first half?
I mean, if any analysis of the defense doesn't begin and end with J.K. Rowling or J.K. Dobbs or whatever the guy's name is like, what are you basing that on?
Right.
They played against a 3rd-string quarterback that had
without eyebrows.
Yeah, I think he has a disease. He's got a thing. Okay, like
maybe I'm still gonna make no eyebrows.
So I'm saying I don't even know how you can actually assess it. Now, when you go up to Denver for a 4:00 game at Mile High against, what looked like a decent Russell Wilson and a Sean Payton offense and the onside kicking and things like that. Well, now let's see what that team's going to look like on the road. Maybe I'm jumping ahead here, but I think you came out with a win, which is very good. Your fan base was energized. You got some home field advantage, which is a first. There was just a couple of fights in the stands, apparently.
Wait. I loved that. I love that they knocked out Ravens guy.
It's disgusting.
Why is he here? Don't come here. Don't come here. Like
I thought it was a preseason fight when I first saw it, but it was a week 1 fight.
Yeah.
That was a week 1. Yeah.
It happened on Sunday.
He got served like the triple combo. That guy went down hard.
Yeah, and the security didn't really seem to mind that much from what I saw. But I think, Stevie, to echo your sentiments, I think they came out with a win, right? And like we'll talk about like top 5 and low 5. They're nowhere near the top 5 as far as like really challenging here for even postseason, but they're still better than most of the bad teams, right? Like they belong somewhere. Not to bury the lead, I've got them around like 12, 13, and I think that's where they're going to stay until that defense can put 2 halves of football together and Sam shows that he can, protect the ball a little bit better. There's a lot of like that running around, that Mike Vick running around with the ball just not protected. And Gibson, I just think Gibson is a bigger problem. I know people really like Brian Robinson Jr., and he can certainly run, but if he's bruising, like for him to get to 100 yards, he's going to need like 30 carries. Right, he runs hard, but he's not an efficient runner at all. Right, I mean, he just doesn't have that breakaway speed. I mean, if you got leads and you're just grinding out yards, great, but they can't just move away from Gibson. Although right now I think he's probably the biggest question mark on the offensive side of the ball.
I'll give you 2 thoughts, and I'm done with the Redskins. I'm done with them. If you want to move on, I almost forgot one. This evening, Lael Collins. I don't know how to pronounce his first name. There's an L and an A, and then there's an apostrophe somehow in the middle. Lael Collins was released from the Bengals. Premier offensive tackle. Premier, I'm being nice. Yeah. Decent offensive tackle that could be an upgrade for us. He was removed off the PUP list and then released by the Bengals. He's out there. If the team is serious about upgrading the offensive line, if they watch the same film that we watched on Sunday live, they got to make a move for it. Number 2, Jacoby Brissett is on the Jets' radar, and there are conversations about that.
I knew this was coming.
I'm saying
it actually came in the chat too. What could you get for Jacoby in a sign and trade or in just a trade situation? I mean,
if there's no lineman they are desperate. The Jets see a playoff team.
What is a fair price? Give me assuming you're trading for picks, right? They're not going to give away. I mean, I suppose if you could package him and Chase and get like Hall, maybe, right? Or Sauce or something, great, but that's not going to happen. So assuming it's just trading a pick for Jacoby, they're not going to give up a first for him. They don't have a second, I don't believe. I think it belongs to the Packers because of the trade. So like if you can get a third, I think you got to take it, but there's no way they offer a third for Jacoby. There's no way, Stevie.
No, I'm saying if you get some depth on the O-line, I'm talking about a player. I'm not talking about a pick.
Why would they give up a player, though? They think that they're built for the Super Bowl, right? I mean, they think that they were going into last night. They felt like they were contenders. I just don't see them parting ways with players.
We do not have the history where we should be talking about getting rid of our second QB. QB2 is a very important position on this team, especially under the reign of Ron Rivera. We should be keeping Jacoby by all means.
Maybe Heineke is on the Jets' radar. Maybe that's the way they go.
I mean, is Heineke going to be that much better than a Wilson?
I mean, I don't know why everyone's so out on Zach. I mean, he had some. I mean, he's a young quarterback too, right? I mean, I understand, but he's played like 12 games or 15 games or whatever it is. Like he's a terrible teammate. But Zach is the one that was linked to players' moms.
Everybody.
Okay. Should we talk about Aaron Rodgers here real quick? I mean, I'm not. You guys aren't like huge Aaron Rodgers fans. Am I right or wrong here? I know Stevie loves him for all the off the field, the hot takes, but
I appreciated him more after watching Hard Knocks. I thought, like, as a football player, I don't care about personal life, Aaron. As a football player, he looked the position, right. He had the older experience, the coachability. He was teaching the other guys, kind of a true alpha male leader as far as it comes to that locker room.
You're throwing that alpha tag around.
Aaron's an alpha when it comes to how he struts around that locker room.
I mean, Stevie, what was your initial thought? For those that aren't aware, Stevie busted an Achilles 3 years ago now. Is that right?
June 28th, 2021.
Yeah, see, I remember mine too. I did mine back in January of this year. So I actually almost threw up, and I was watching the game with the wife, and they showed like the super slow mo, and you can see like the calf like recoil, and I was like, I can't watch the game anymore. Like I know what this is. I've lived through this. I'm still recovering from it. What was your initial thought, Stevie, when you? I mean, I didn't think it was Achilles at first glance, but like what was your initial thought and reaction to it? I mean, we're younger than him by a little bit. You're much younger than him, but
Mhm.
is he coming back from this, or is this a career?
No, I think it's his career. Yeah. I mean, I didn't think it was an Achilles. I was actually watching with my oldest son, and it looked like he just tweaked it, something, whatever. And then you start hearing it on Twitter and stuff. And, but I don't think he wants to come back from this. Like, he's got his money. I mean, what's his contract is mostly guaranteed money right now.
Like 75 million guaranteed, something like that.
Why would you want to come back from
For
this?
72 seconds of football.
And also, we know that he ain't gonna do the traditional stuff. He's gonna do some crazy ayahuasca thing. And Joe Rogan's gonna be shooting him up in the butt or something. So I don't know.
Listen, I mean, I'm. How are you? Do you feel like you're back from your injury? Like, do you still think about it now?
It's the mental aspect took me longer than the physical.
Yeah. And I was, and that's the same way I feel. I'm nowhere near back to where I was when it was injured, but I have such tremendous respect for athletes like Kobe and Kevin Durant, right? These guys,
Cam Akers.
They popped it on the field or on the court. Kobe in particular, like took his free throws, and like I can't fathom like how you do that, because I couldn't even roll myself off the court when it happened.
Did Clay?
Clay
was the ACL.
I think he was knee. Yeah. No, not
ACL.
Achilles. No, but like J.K. Dobbins went down with an Achilles. That kid, I mean, I feel for him. The guy averaged, he's gonna end, I think that's the end of his career too. He's gonna go down as a running back that averaged like damn near 5 yards a carry, but missed, all of last season or the season before. Got back on the field last year, looked great. He looked good in preseason. He looked good for the Ravens in quarters 1 and 2. Achilles is gone. Like that's another one that you just, like, that injury in particular, like with football, like maybe like you could say with basketball, I don't know. Like it seems like it's an impossible journey back for either case. But Aaron's older, and like you said, does he need, like, is this a legacy thing? Because
that's what I'm saying is,
I don't know.
Like you look at like a Cam Akers. Cam Akers tore it in July, was playing in the Super Bowl in February. But there is a maniacal like journey back that a person who has options. Cam Akers doesn't have options. He's got to earn a paycheck. Aaron Rodgers has got options. He can go sit next to Pat McAfee on his show. He can hang out with Joe Rogan once a month. He can go get back together with Olivia Munn. Like he can do whatever he wants. Mm-hmm. I don't know why.
It's the pride of Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he wants to go out that way from the league. I think he wants to have that Peyton Manning, Tom Brady tour of the teams kind of farewell season where he gets to ideally seal it with a trophy. He's going to be too proud to go out not the Tom Brady way.
I don't know if
he's going to want to get welcomed back to Green Bay and all that good stuff. Like,
sure. I don't know if I buy that the Jets were that close even with him, to be very honest. I think their defense was good. I think they have questions at running back. Maybe some of those were answered. But I don't know if they were, even with him, that the best team in the AFC. Right? I know Cincinnati, I know the Bengals completely laid an egg, and I know like the Dolphins looked good, the Chargers looked good. Like, were they contenders if he comes back a year later? Like, can he do it? Maybe. I would say if I'm betting on it, I think it's a career. I think he finds a way to, enter the broadcasting realm. And FB, you brought up Brady, and of course that was like the first, like all the trolls immediately on Twitter were like, "Hey, Brady would fit perfectly in the system," and blah blah blah. There's a 0%. Whatever the odds are that he would not do this, I'll take that. I'll empty my life savings on that bet. There's no chance that Tom Brady unretires, gives up his ownership stake in the Raiders to play quarterback for the Jets. There's just no freaking way. I think the Jacoby thing is interesting, but I think they're going to ride it with Zach. I don't think they have another choice. Like, there's no one off the street that they can go sign. Although
Matt
RG3 is
Ryan, Carson
RG3.
Wentz.
Matt Ryan is an interesting one. Another guy that no one's talking about, Phillip Rivers. Like, I know he's a couple of seasons now removed from the league, but could he come in there and just throw the ball? I think so.
I mean, he was
but
immobile when he was still playing, so definitely not.
I feel like we need to at least address Stevie, your boy Grant and RG3 got into it a little bit today. I don't know how closely you were following it, but RG3 never misses an opportunity to insert himself into an available quarterback slot.
Him and Cam Newton.
Like all the time. All the time. Grant definitely trimmed the clip, right? I mean, it wasn't the full clip, but RG3 generally goes out of his way to say that he can still play, and he probably can. But again, there's no chance. There's no chance. There's no chance.
He couldn't play here. He couldn't play in Cleveland. He couldn't play in Baltimore.
RG3 is a goon. Goon is what he is.
He can't play.
Homecoming. Although I did.
I'm still mad that he was featured in our homecoming video.
No, listen. Hold on. You, the three of us have like memories of the glory years, right? Even like Gibbs 1 and some of Gibbs 2.
That's fine.
Everybody that's like under 30 years old, all they know, if you somehow for some reason are cheering for this team, RG3 is your most recent, relevant, meaningful memory of a team that doesn't suck, right? I mean, when was the last time the team won 12 games? Right, it was RG3 season.
I don't like the disrespect of
Kirk. They didn't win 12 games with RG3.
No, Kirk was my guy, although you want to talk about nobody gets hit more playing quarterback in the NFL than Kirk Cousins. This guy, I mean, was that the upset of the week?
No.
The Giants? You just put the Giants, the poopy Giants losing shutout?
No, I was going to say Browns, Bengals.
I mean,
can't really be an upset if the Browns have Burrow's number. They always beat Burrow.
I think 6 of 7. Should we let's talk top 5, low 5? I mean, I know you guys at this point, I'm sure you've seen everything. I'll give you mine, then you give me yours. Okay, I'm gonna go. Let's do low 5 first. This is just the teams I think are going nowhere. They stink, and I will not watch them if they're on TV, or even if I have to, I'll turn it off. Cardinals for me are dead last. If you cut your quarterback going into the season, you clearly don't care to win games. Say what you want. I think they're the worst team in the league. Panthers looked really bad. Adam Thielen is not a real receiver anymore. He's not an NFL receiver. Bryce Young is going to struggle a lot. He's tiny also. I mean, I feel like most defensive ends could pick him up and throw him to the sideline if they really wanted to. Texans, another rookie quarterback. Not really sure what to make of them. They didn't run Dameon Pierce at all. They didn't look great. The Bears look really bad. I think anybody who's still tugging on the Justin Fields thread, I don't know what the hell you're watching. That team is trash. He cannot play quarterback in the NFL. And then finally, the Titans. And this one, maybe I'm being a little bit too critical here, but they've got too many reasonably available, good-ish receivers, tight end, etc. That they can't stink the way they continue to stink. Like they should be better than they are. Anyway, those are my bottom 5, and I got the Commanders somewhere around that 12-13 range. We'll see how they fare against the Broncos. Is your list different than mine, Stevie? Any teams you want to omit, throw on there? Do the Giants belong in the bottom 5, considering how they lost at home?
I don't think they do, because I think Dallas is in my top 5. So you can't fault them for getting whooped by an incredible team. I mean, I think it was all those guys that started rookies, right? I think Anthony Richardson, struggled in Indianapolis. Bryce Young played decent in Carolina. But, I mean, I think these teams are going to struggle all year. I agree with the Justin Fields thing. I think he hasn't shown the progression that he needs to. And they could be stuck there. And I think I like the Tennessee call because, where do you go if Ryan Tannehill – I mean, maybe, if you say, okay, it's time to move on from Tannehill, maybe you do give the Jets a phone call and see. But, I mean, it's clearly they're not taking steps forward. I mean, that's the thing with these you go all in on these quarterbacks. And, we see Tannehill can make a run to the playoffs. They can be a couple plays away from a Super Bowl. But when it starts going south or it's stuck in neutral with a Justin Fields, with a Tannehill, with, even a Russell Wilson, then it's like, where do we go from here? You're almost kind of in purgatory in some of these places. So I think as the season goes on, we're going to see some of those teams really stuck in purgatory that went all in on a quarterback that are really rethinking their decisions.
Fair enough. FP, what's your bottom five? Or who you got in there that we don't have?
I would drop Browns below the Cardinals just because of how much they've given up for Fields. They traded the 32nd overall pick.
Bears.
Bears. They traded the 32nd overall pick for Chase Claypool, who's getting fried on the internet right now.
That dude did not want to play football on Sunday.
He did not want to be on that field. He's getting fried. And it's just, that is an organization. They had every opportunity to just come in there and say, Jordan Love who, and then flip the script against the Packers. And all they did was just empower the Packers and made everybody think, okay, maybe Jordan Love is the next iteration of Favre, Rodgers, Love QB train. It's possible.
How it is to have a stability at that position, right?
I would love that. But the Cardinals, yeah, we hit on that. The Texans, yeah. The Colts, they're probably going to be 4 after those 3. Just everything you did with Jonathan Taylor, you clearly need him, and you fumbled that. And then it took you a quarter and a half to injure your brand new shiny quarterback toy, where his knees hurt or whatever.
He almost had a second rushing touchdown, right? That would have.
He's not going to last the whole season. He's going to get hit too much.
He's got to learn to protect himself. And there was Trevor Lawrence actually talked to him after the game and said something to that effect. You got to learn to take these hits a little bit better. Speaking of them, well, before I give you my top 5, I may have just.
Well, my last one is the Giants, by the way.
You're just not buying.
The money that you gave Daniel Jones, like you got whooped 40-0. I don't care. I don't care that you have coach of the year. You were playoffs last year. 40-0. You couldn't even get into field goal range. And when you did, you gave up a touchdown. Like that is, and it was prime time and it was the blue out and everybody suddenly thought that the Giants were going to be legitimate. 40-0.
Yeah, I mean, Dak did nothing. Dak didn't have to do anything. Turns out that's the best way to win a game in the rain is just don't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, that defense is
where do you have the Commanders, FP? I got them somewhere around 12-13. Is that kind of where you pegged them as well? A little bit higher, a little bit lower?
I'd probably drop them to like 15.
Okay. I think we'll
very
see.
Easily could move up, but 15 for now.
Stevie, where do you got the Commanders?
Yeah, I don't know how they could be in the top half of the league. They barely beat. We all just agreed one of the worst teams in the league. So yeah, I think they're in that 15-20 range, and I think that's generous.
Okay, let's pivot here. Go top 5. I'm going to give them to you. I'm just going to go one down the list instead of trying to make it dramatic. I got the 49ers at the top, but it really close number 2, Cowboys. That is probably the most complete team and complete performance that we saw. Yes, weather factored in, and that's the only reason I'm going 49ers a little bit higher. 49ers are loaded at receiver. They are loaded. I mean, they've got a tight end who's a little gimpy, but he's going to be okay. They've got the best running back in football. They've got a stout defense. And they've got a really good coach. So 49ers for me, number 1. Cowboys right behind them at 2. I like the Eagles, even though they took the foot off the gas against the Patriots. That's a complete team. They've got 4 serviceable running backs, at least 3.5 right now. At 4, I'm going to go Dolphins, and it's really hard to take your eyes off the screen when Hill is on the field. It's incredible what he can do when you put the ball in his hands. It's just unreal. And then honestly, I struggled with number 5 here. I was gonna go Lions because I was really impressed with them on opening night, but I'm gonna go Jacksonville. I think Trevor Lawrence, that Lawrence and Ridley connection is gonna be like a fantasy monster, but a real life monster too. And Etienne is a talented running back that people forgot about because he missed so much time last season. So Niners, Cowboys, Eagles, Dolphins, Jaguars, and the Lions on the bubble at 6 looking in. That's my top 5 plus 1 bonus. FP, is your list different than mine?
I would drop Eagles to 5 and move Dolphins up just because they lost too much after the Super Bowl run. There's a target painted on them, at least in the NFC. And I still kind of think Jalen Hurts is fraudulent. I just don't buy into him all the way yet. I think he has amazing weapons, but he did it against the Patriots, right? Untimely turnover, just like he did in the Super Bowl. Kind of some stupid mistakes here and there, and I just think the luster and the praise that he's getting is going to wear off sooner than later. And they lost way too many pieces and coordinators and coaches. They're still complete, but I'm dropping them to 5.
Okay.
I just don't buy them.
Stevie,
I do like the Jaguars though. That's a
Jags.
good pick.
They look good.
Jags at 4 is pretty solid. Niners, Cowboys, Dolphins, Jags. I think that's the correct order.
I mean, I think we're burying the lead here is that I'm with you, Joe, for the most part, if I remember correctly. But the real storyline is that the lowly NFC, the AFC just had all these juggernauts, all these powerhouses that were going to come through with all these incredible quarterbacks. I agree with you. I think the NFC is coming out of week 1 looking like the juggernauts. And you know what it's really all attributing to is all those teams, what do they have in common? They have some incredible front 4s and front 7s. And you look at, I think I do put the Eagles in there, not because of Jalen Hurts, but another Jalen on the other side of the ball is that rookie defensive end that they stole in the first round, Jalen Carter, who's a beast, who looked incredible. And then you got San Francisco with Bosa, and then you got the Lions with their kind of brand of defense and smash mouth football. And, so I think, and then the Cowboys. I love the way the Cowboys are built. Micah Parsons is everything Chase Young is not.
I mean,
everything.
we made it this far. We made it 37 minutes without talking about Chase. I mean,
he is a bust of all busts. I'm sorry.
They gain nothing. They actually are in a worse position because they have to deactivate someone to call him up or bring him in. Thank God.
You know what? I would forgive. Chase Young needs to make an 8-second video and just repeat those words. Micah Parsons is everything I am not. And I will absolutely say, you know what? That's cool. It's all right. I get it, bro. I mean, I wish I was other people too.
I want to sneak in one last thing here before we wrap up. Notably missing from the top 5, top 6, top 7. I don't think you could put the Chiefs in there without Kelsey, and I don't think you could put the Bengals in there right now. I know Burrow signed his massive deal. The Bills too. Josh Allen looked horrendous. He looked like the Josh Allen from his rookie year and his sophomore campaign. He didn't know where his receivers were. He looked panicked. He looked rushed. I mean, I was shocked. But
Joe, having said all that, FP, give me your line about week 1.
Yeah, week 1's not real football.
Not real.
By week 6, we could say the AFC East.
Which one of those 3 teams do you think is most likely to return to form, to last season's form? The Bills, the Chiefs, or the Bengals?
Bengals. This is why I'll tell you the Bengals. They have the team. They just needed to kind of shake off the rust with Burrow because he was injured in the preseason. Chiefs and Bills have a bigger issue, and they need to go out and sign an elite receiver to help them, right? The Bills need a solid wide receiver too, and the Chiefs need literally anybody that's a receiver.
I agree with you. I think it's the Bengals are most likely to recover. I think the Chiefs are in the biggest trouble because without Kelsey, I mean, Kelsey's a wide receiver. They can't run the ball and they can't throw the ball necessarily nearly as effective. They had what was it, 8 drop passes on 11 attempts at one point. Like the receivers the ball's hitting their hands, they're just not catching it. Like they're in trouble. I mean, that's not a Bieniemy thing, and that's not an Andy Reid coach them up thing. Like they just don't have talent at the receiver position.
Right.
The Bills
they let too much talent leave.
Yeah. I'd put money that the Bills will have the best record of those 3 teams by the end of the year. I think they got caught up in a weird situation, probably took their foot off the gas when Rodgers went down, all that mystique of New York, and it was also 9/11, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I think they'll be fine. They almost actually won the game. I think the Bills will be fine.
Okay. I mean, Josh Allen, he didn't look good, Stevie. He didn't look good.
Yeah, but the truth is next week he's probably going to look like an MVP quarterback and have 5 passing touchdowns.
We'll see. I mean, they're one Stephon Diggs, tantrum on the sideline away from complete collapse. They also don't have a running back there. Like they've got a committee situation there. Their defense seems to have regressed. I mean, they just didn't look good. They didn't look good. But, as you said, FP, it's not real football or it doesn't count week 1. You can't really, conclude anything. Stevie, you mentioned 9/11. 22 years is a long time. I mean, it dates us. I mean, I still vividly remember what we were doing that morning. And I was teasing this in the green room before we fired up the pod. Do you remember what happened in DC? I'll give you a couple clues here, but do you remember what happened in DC on September 10th, 2001?
Well, I know the Rumsfeld press conference, but we won't get into that. Okay.
There's no Rumsfeld. Nobody know who Rumsfeld. Nobody know who Donnie was before 9/11.
Donnie announced they couldn't find $2.3 trillion. We won't get into that.
It was a big sport. I mean, it was a huge sports story. I'll give you a clue, but I know you're going to get it right away.
I mean, it was a Tuesday morning, so I'm assuming you're referencing
it
must
was
have been a Redskins Monday night game.
No, it was a Wizards story.
Did Jordan decide to come back?
Yeah, on Monday, on September 10th.
He bought the team?
No, Jordan announced he was coming out of retirement to play for the Wizards on September 10th. I'm going
to need a fact check on that. Where's LP?
The newspapers on the Washington Post on the front page of the night of September 11, 2001. The front page of the newspaper was Jordan saying, "I'm coming back," and it was his grand announcement that he was returning to basketball. Of course, nobody was paying attention to that after 9 a.m. But it's like burned into my mind.
Well, I'm gonna need a fact check on that, and if that comes out true, that's an incredible get, Joe. Okay,
Jordan's your guy. I'm surprised you don't remember it. I mean, there's a lot of things that happened that day, so I remember it so vividly. I remember picking up literally the USA Today at McDonald's, and it was Jordan coming back. And there was no podcast then, right? Like we were still reading. There's no Twitter. There's no social media. Like we still read the newspaper, and it was the front page news everywhere.
Where did Jordan live when he was playing for the Wizards?
The Ritz-Carlton.
Sports Club LA. That's right.
That's you. Come on. Listen, we play it humble here, but we know everything.
Who used to run ball there do you remember Ed and Charles O'Bannon?
Of course, UCLA boys.
The O'Bannon brothers. That's right. They're the ones that sued.
Are we going to pretend like we didn't play with Kwame and Chris Paul when they
I was going to leave that for next time.
We're going to pretend. Yeah, way before Gilbert Arenas came in here with all his guns. We were doing other stuff here. We were locked in. I mean, that was 22 years ago, man. It's my kids now are they're getting to an age where they can I think they can understand it, but like there's no way to relay that morning. As somebody who grew up in DC, and I think I was a sophomore in college, I think. It's crazy. It's such a long time ago, but anyway, never forget. I know I don't think FP has any. FP looks like he's left the chat here. He's
no, I'm fact checking you. It looks like that Jordan poll might not be 910. It might be 925.
Oh, Joe.
No, it's 100% 910.
I'm sorry. I don't
it's
think
100% 910. You just keep doing research into Susanna Gibson, please. Be prepared for the next pod. Stevie, any last thoughts? Let's put a bow on this.
Incredible UFC fight on Saturday. Congrats. Sean Strickland, middleweight champion, one of the biggest upsets in UFC history. We ain't giving any love to that.
If the Tate brothers and the Logan brothers do a tag team boxing match, who are you taking?
I'm
taking Andrew. I'm not taking both Tates. I'm taking one Tate. Just Andrew.
Oh, Andrew will kill both of them. I hate the Paul brothers. Okay.
FP, any last thoughts? Any parting words?
Yeah, it's going to go back to Chase and how he's a bust. And I need somebody to explain to me how a doctor over Zoom can decide that your stinger is not good enough to play football. A doctor over Zoom gave him the decision.
How many more games will he miss this season in a row? Over under 1.5.
He doesn't come back before week 6 and looks terrible.
Oh, you're way down on him.
He's trash.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, FP, for making time. Stevie, appreciate your insights as always. Happy football, gentlemen. My name is Joe. This is Defeating the Curse. You can find this show anywhere you get podcasts. It'll be available shortly if you watch live and want to rewatch it or re-listen. That'd be great. If not, catch us next time. Until then, we are out.